I am so excited because the Step Out TV shows are back live on T2I TV. And for those who don't know, Step Out is a series of interviews and motivational segments designed to bring the best out of you and your business. Therefore, we have the following TV programs. Our first TV program, which is our flagship program, dubbed Step Out with Oscar Bimpong, is designed to interview consultants, experts, talented people, and those doing exceptionally well in their communities. The second one is Step Out SME Focus. This is where we interview business owners and showcase their products and services. The third one is Step Out Youth Impact Zone. This is where we interview young people succeeding against all odds to serve as an inspiration to other young people. And the last one is Step Out Authors Corner. And this is where we interview authors to share what their book is about to the world. Join us every week. Like T2I TV on Facebook and subscribe to the YouTube channel. To advertise or for further information, do WhatsApp +44 759 1152 983 or +233 55 580 3924 or email info@traintoinspire.com. T2I TV, we engage, educate, enlighten, and empower.
Welcome to another exciting edition of the Step Out with Oscar Bimpong show, and this is your regular host, Oscar Bimpong, always in the driving seat, taking you to your destination of success. You know what we do on every Saturday, to bring you an inspiring story designed to change the narrative in your life, designed to cause you to believe again, designed to really cause you to understand that, look, whatever level that you find yourself in, you can always do better. Never settle for less. Always maximize your potential. And that is why we bring in topics, we bring in discussions, we bring in inspiring stories that are designed to really cause you, to really drive you to the next level of your life. And that is what the Step Out with Oscar Bimpong is all about. And tonight is no exception. I have got my guests seated already, fired up for an inspiring story. If you are watching us, this is what I want you to do for us. Just like our page, T2I TV UK, if you haven't, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Look, tell somebody, share this for somebody to have an opportunity to watch this discussion, because you might never know what the discussion how it might change somebody's life forever. Because trust me, my guest has got an inspiring story to share. Now, before I go on to my guest, I want to talk about a few sponsors of this program. This program is sponsored by Train to Inspire Consultancy. If you don't know, T2I TV UK comes from Train to Inspire, and that is inspiring our generation through training and development. And trust me, for all your training needs, contact Train to Inspire Consultancy. Train to Inspire also works with schools, colleges, and universities in terms of the personal development of students. If you want us to really gear towards working on the minds of students for them to really succeed in life and in the marketplace, contact us. Also, ZPay Ghana Limited, your remittance and mobile money company based in Ghana. ZPay just launched their USSD code for mobile money, and that is *270#. Just dial it on your phone and register for ZPay mobile money. With ZPay, you don't need a third party to register for mobile money. Just at the dial on your phone, you should be able to really register for ZPay mobile money. And congratulations to ZPay, Amake Abebresa. She's been enacted as the brand ambassador for ZPay. such a huge opportunity for both parties. Congratulations, Amake Abebrese, for this great feat. Now, let me go straight to business. And as I said earlier on, if you want to contact any of our sponsors, their contact details are scrolling on the screen. Take them and contact them. And also, if you want to support what we are doing, take the number for T2I TV UK or Train to Inspire Consultancy and contact us and work with us. If you want to really sponsor any of our shows, you are more than happy to do so. Now, my guest is seated. And the question is, who is on the hot seat tonight? Now, before I come on to my guest, I want to encourage you that if today is your first time of watching us, I want you to like our page and subscribe to our YouTube channel. That is T2I TV UK. Also share this for somebody to have an opportunity to join us, because trust me, it's going to be an amazing discussion. Look, my guest is already seated. She's looking very beautiful. I call it beauty with brains. And tonight, she's going to add the two. So you can imagine what is going to happen here. Now, who is my guest? Now, my guest is a media personality. She is the founder of Women's Empowerment Summit. And she is the CEO of She-Hub TV and She-Hub Magazine. She is in the person of Carla Zuill. Please welcome to Step Out with Oscar Bimpon, and you are live on T2I TV UK.
Oh, thank you for having me. So nice to be here.
So nice to also have you here. How has your day been?
Good. I've been excited. I've been looking forward to having this conversation with you this evening.
Wow. I'm already fired up. I don't know about you, but I'm already fired up. And I believe that we're going to have a very great discussion. And trust me, as I said earlier on, share this for somebody to have an opportunity to watch this powerful interview. Now, our topic for discussion is healing from the past hurts, the key to a great future. My guest has passed through a lot, and tonight she's going to share her story with us. Trust me, you'll be empowered after tonight. Because after having a brief conversation with her about this story, I'm even more than encouraged. But before I go on to the topic, and in terms of your story, now, who is Carla Zuill in your own ways?
Carla is first and foremost a mother of three. I have a 20-year-old daughter and two sons, 15 and 11. I am a passionate woman. I believe in, I love sports. I used to play softball on a national level, haven't played in a few years. I'm a football mom. I have two academy sons, but I'm very compassionate, non-judgmental. And most of all, I'm a woman who is on a constant journey to healing.
You are on a constant journey to healing. And I think today a lot of people will be healed after really having an encounter with your story. Now, let me go straight to business. You are originally from Bermuda, living in the UK now, right? Now, tell me about growing up in Bermuda. How was life like?
No one's ever asked me that, That's interesting. Growing up in Bermuda, fun. It's a beautiful country, swimming in the summer. I'm born in May, so I love the warm weather. So swimming, spending time with family. I come from a middle-class home. My favorite person on earth was my grandmother. So I spent a lot of time with my granny. And I went to church. People get so amazed, and probably because of my sometimes potty mouth, but I grew up Seventh-day Adventist. But growing up in Bermuda, it was good, I'm a child of the 70s. We didn't suffer in any way financially. The things, and maybe because now that I'm a bit older, I hear about struggles, but growing up, didn't have any struggles. And then, I saw my way into the world.
Wow. That's quite interesting. I was also born in the 70s. We had nothing, but we were the happiest children on earth. And sometimes when you see your children say, I'm bored, and they've got Xbox, they've got Y box, they've got Z box, I'm like, you've got, what's wrong with you? And that is why we have to take them to Africa for them to really appreciate life. We have to take them to the Caribbean for them to appreciate life, because sometimes you don't know what you have until you see the other side of life. Now, let's go straight into our topic: healing from the past hurt, the key to a great future. Now, you have got 3 children from different men, as you said in your introduction, right? Now, talk to me about the earlier stages of your relationships.
Well, the first, my daughter and my daughter's father and I, we didn't end up staying together, but overall we have a very cordial and good relationship. We don't have any huge animosity or anything between us, and we get on quite well. And my sons actually know him as well, call him uncle, so that's that's that. And then my first son, my second child, how do I put this? I wouldn't say he's a result of an abusive relationship, but I was abused physically. He used to beat me, spit on me, and all of that. But I find that we as women, and I can only speak from a Black woman's perspective, so I don't know if white women do this as well, but we tend to think that we can fix man, that if we love them more, they won't treat us a certain way, or they'll treat us better. They'll treat us better than they treated the previous girlfriend, for example. And so he was very abusive, and it took for me. I found out I was pregnant. It's funny, he beat me up really bad, and I had to go to the hospital. And they asked me, was I pregnant? Because I had to get x-rays. I had hurt my arm. And I said, no. And took a test. It came out negative, had the x-rays. And then a week later, I found out I was pregnant with my son. And I was afraid, because I was like, oh my gosh, is he going to be mentally impaired or have some sort of disability because of the x-ray? But me telling him I was pregnant, he left. And to some people, it's like, oh my gosh, that's horrible. But I had the best night's sleep when he left. The third relationship was a childhood sweetheart. And then I was actually pregnant with my son, my first son. And we went on a couple of dates. I didn't tell him I was pregnant. And then I told him, and I was like, I don't want to date you because I'm having a baby. And he was like, no, I'll be there. And to his credit, he was. And we were together for 5 years. No, we were together for 3 years at the time before we had our son. I didn't want any more children. But he wanted to have our son. So we had our son. That relationship was very complex as well, because now I look back, I never should have been in it, for the simple fact you cannot heal from a past relationship in a current relationship. You just can't do it. And I didn't realize that. I think I was worried about the stigma. I was a public figure in Bermuda, and the stigma of having a baby with no father. I was vulnerable, and I couldn't see any of that when I was going through it, right? But then he was a different type of abusive. He was mentally, he was never physical. He was mentally, he was emotionally, and financially abusive. But because I was now with my third child by a third man, I just felt I had to stay. And I was miserable, but I stuck it out until I was forced to leave, right? But even in that, like little things, if I would be asleep and he'd reach over, as men do, he may want to give me a kiss, and I would jump. So I was very fidgety. And again, that's the residuals from the previous relationship. And so then I went from being abused to at times being abusive. So I'm not physically aggressive, but if I feel that I'm being attacked in whatever way, I'm going to lash back. And sometimes that meant a slap. That might mean throwing something. It was really bad. And it wasn't all the time, but to me, once was more than enough. And when my youngest son was a year, I realized I had to go to anger management. And that was in 2000. That was actually 10 years ago this year, because I completed it just before I turned 37. And it was the best thing I ever could have done for myself. And that's when
I think we will come there. We will come back.
Okay.
Come to the healing side, right? But I want to ask you this. Bermuda is a very small country, right? So I believe everybody knows everyone's family here and there. It's a well-connected society. And as you said, you were a bit popular there. Now, how did you feel having 3 different children with 3 different men? I think there was a level of stigmatization. There was a level of people pointing fingers at you. How did you handle it?
If they pointed fingers, I think people knew better than to point them out loud, right? Because anyone that knows me knows that I'm feisty. So I never felt the judgment overtly. But I'm sure people, like I had a cousin one time that she said, I could laugh now, but I couldn't laugh that day. She was like, oh my gosh, you're having another baby with someone else, you know? But for me, I was in denial because with my first son, his dad was never there. He made him and disappeared. So in my mind, and I think it was a coping mechanism, Oscar, he just didn't exist. So I knew I had 2 children. I had 2 children for the longest, but I only had one child's father, and that was my daughter's father. And I think that was my coping mechanism. But then, and I remember my boyfriend at the time, he was saying, don't worry about what people have to say. If they ask who's the dad, it's me. But then when we had our youngest son, like my older son is my complexion, my youngest son is very, very fair skinned. So although genetics is wild and wonderful, I couldn't deny it anymore, but I had to vocalize it. And it took me a long time to get there. So I would just ignore it and not act like it didn't exist. But I looked at it as, these are my children. I love them. So it doesn't matter what anyone else thinks. But I knew that, and we will talk about that process later. It was all in my process to healing where I had to embrace it.
Wow. But one of your partner, one was physically abusive and one was verbally abusive. This 2 combination is very dangerous. How much damage did it do to your life?
Well, a lot. I had always grown up. I don't know how it is in Africa, but in Bermuda, growing up, the lighter you are, the higher you are on the pedestal. If you have the straight hair. So I was brown skinned with kinky hair. I love about now that people embrace that. But when I was growing up, they didn't. So I was called Blackie and all of that. So although people may say, oh, Carla, I think you're attractive or I think you're beautiful, I didn't buy into that because I just felt black and ugly. And with the verbal, I would say the verbal was actually worse because when I opened up and I shared these insecurities in what I thought was a space of love, when he was being nasty, I would be black, I would be ugly, your hair don't grow. So all the things, and he knew how I felt like I felt there was a degree of colorism within my family. And I shared all of this, and then he threw it against me. And so for me, because you can heal from the physical, right? I had to have my shoulder surgically reattached. That was from the physical. But the verbal and the emotional, it's like wet spaghetti. It just embraces you and sucks you in. So I personally think that was the worst. The verbal and the emotional was worse than the physical.
Wow, because this is quite interesting. And I always say that if somebody gets an accident and they get a scar on their body, you can really see it straight away. But if you get a scar in your heart, emotionally, who will see it? You just deal with it in the way that you think is the best for you. Now, let me ask those that are watching us. Look, this is a powerful discussion that we are living in a community where we have got so much single moms, so much baby mamas, not because it's their fault, but sometimes it's because of the kind of relationship they go into. And this is a complex situation for our communities. So I will encourage you to share this for somebody to have an opportunity to watch this discussion. Secondly, I will encourage you to like our page T2ITV UK, and that is on Facebook, and subscribe to our YouTube channel T2ITV UK on YouTube.
So
Why?
Oscar, you just used a term that I absolutely despise, right? And that's baby mama.
But that is what I think a lot of people will understand what I'm coming from.
Oh no, I totally get it. It's a common term in our day and time. But because we're talking about the path, that's a term I just don't. Baby mama and even baby daddy, those terms make me cringe. I don't embrace them at all. I'm my children's mother. I am the mother of your child.
I agree with you totally. I agree with you. No worries about that. I lift my hands up. Yeah, so let's go up. Now, in which a time you became abusive as well. Now, what made you do that? Because initially you weren't abusive. What made you to transition for you to really fight back to be abusive?
I think it was, I'm going to get you before you get me. Because when I was being abused, I fought back. I remember the first time he punched me in the face, and I remember seeing stars and counting what day of the week it was. And that day, I was determined that if anyone ever attacked me, I would attack. And so it wasn't intentional, but it was just, it'd be a slap. Like I'd slap him. And to his credit, he never ever, he did it once, and people get upset when I say this, but I hit him first with a bottle. I threw a baby bottle full of milk and hit him with it, and he punched me. And I never was angry at him for that, because he never ever prior to that ever hit me back. So even to this day, I have nothing for him. I have nothing to say to him, but I would always be very clear. He was never, ever physically abusive. But again, it goes back to, you shouldn't move on until you've completely healed from the journey that you've been on, if it wasn't a good one. So I don't think I was probably lashing out at him, although he may have deserved it. I was lashing out, from my past.
So it was more of a self-defense, right?
It was an inappropriate reaction, yes.
But do you think at the time that was the best solution for solving such an issue?
It felt that way in the moment, because he would do things to me, like he would steal from me. He would steal from my children. And that would just anger me. And I always you see me here working hard to take care of my children. Why would you steal from me? And my reaction would be that. But I don't condone it. But I have to claim it, because that was my action at the time. But yeah, and you know what? After I did the anger management, I've never, ever physically lashed out to anybody. And that's been 10 years.
Wow. But are you an angry person personally, or is it the relationship that really brought you to that stage? Because I think sometimes when you push somebody to the wall for a long time, they will react. It's human nature. And I think it's not only you. Most of us will say, oh, if it was me, I will have a better alternative. But until it happens to you, you might never really say that this is how I'm going to deal with it. So
no, I'm not an angry person at all. Anyone who knows me, they'll tell you I like to laugh, I like to whatever, but there are things that trigger me, because even now that beast still exists. It's just that even the tools that I was given in anger management, like I know when I'm about to blow my gasket. And so, but I know how to control it. So I know what my triggers are. I don't like name calling. So if someone calls me a name, that's a trigger. Right. But I also know that when I'm triggered, it's things that I need to do. If we're arguing and I take a breath, I know I'm about to just kick off. So if I feel me take that breath, I know to take another one to calm back down. But no, I'm not angry at all. And I even give people warnings. I'm like, please don't speak to me that way, because I don't want to be that person. One time when my children were very young, one of them spilled a container of drink. And it was my oldest son. He was about 4 at the time. And he came with these wide eyes and he was like, Mommy, and he was afraid of me. And I saw the look in his eyes. I saw the look in my daughter's eyes. And I was like, I never want children to be afraid of me. And so being angry, although sometimes you have to be, you see it as a last resort.
Now, how did it impact your children? Because the children see mom going through this struggle and challenges to the extent that, like what you are saying now, when they see your face, they see that there's something wrong, right? Now, did you see any iota or any way that this has really impacted your children?
Thankfully, no. The only way I see it is with my daughter, in the sense where my daughter is very intolerant of just about anything. So she's very clear on, don't talk to me that way. If a male's talking to her aggressively, she cuts it off one time. So it's had a positive impact, but I also think that she's a bit rigid. So, or she'll say, I don't want to have children because look how you got stuck with children. And I'll be like, no, don't judge every man like that. All men are not bad. I had to claim that was my choice or my choices. The boys, not at all. They were young, thankfully. They were impacted by abandonment as such, but I've always been a committed parent to my children. So my children have never lacked, especially on an emotional level. To this day, they're very well adjusted, well mannered, and all of that. They're not getting into any trouble. So, and I've been honest with them to a certain. My youngest is still a bit young, so there's a lot he does not know. But when my middle son started asking questions, I wasn't going to lie to him. And my daughter, of course, she remembers certain things, but she's just like, that was yesterday. Our life is so far removed from those times now.
Do you think people from our community are able to open up to their children? Because there is one thing that you stated here that I like so much, that when they were growing up and they started asking questions, you were honest to them. Do you think in our community, we are able to open up to our children? Because sometimes we think they are children. What do they know? They should shut up, right? Do you think we do that?
I grew up like that. Children don't have a voice. You don't have an opinion. I was told constantly, if you don't like it, get out, but you can't get out till you're 18, right? I was told that constantly for 15 to 18, probably heard it every day. And from growing up, there were certain things that I did not want my children to endure. There's a certain way of parenting that I would never do. So with my children, I cannot, and I've created a movement with the Women's Empowerment Summit, which we'll get into, but I cannot be on a public stage. I cannot have this conversation with you, Oscar, if I haven't been honest enough to have it with my children, because then I would not be authentic. So once I made peace with who I was, because often I was like, why me? Why me? And I realized my journey is to help others. And so I can't do that if I can't be honest with my children. And I tell my children all the time, if you have something to say it, whether I'm going to like it or not. I would rather my children talk to me than turn into the hands, like in my daughter's case, if she turned to a male or drugs or whatever, I don't want that. So I have to have that open line of communication open.
It's like my daughter, she will say, are you going to be mad if I tell you? I say no. Yeah, it's quite interesting. And I think we are all learning, right? No one is perfect. And I think we learn from each other for us to be better. And I think a lot of people probably are going through what you have gone through, or they have gone through it, but they haven't been able to come out of it. whether psychologically or physically, they are still emotionally attached to it. Now, let me go to the next level before we go into the healing process. Now, let me ask you this: Did this, what you went through, did it impact you in a way in terms of your mental health?
In 2016, so I moved here December of 2016, and I'm a journalist, right? And I had a website, and I was covering a lot of news. And Bermuda was going through a time where it was a lot of gang war, and men in my neighborhood specifically were being murdered. And I was literally going from being in the neighborhood, hearing the shots, to covering it. And so from having to protect my children and then protecting myself mentally in order to work, I was holding a lot in. I didn't realize until just before I left to return to move to the UK that I was suffering from post-traumatic stress disorder. In 2017, I returned to Bermuda, and I had to go to court for one of my children. And his father was so abusive to me. And depression is intangible, but I literally felt a cloud come over my head. He sent me these messages and things that I had shared with him as a partner, as a lover. He was throwing back at me, calling me names. And for me, it was, how can you talk to me this way when I have your child? And so that's when I realized that mentally it had really worn me down. I was here. I put my pen down. I stopped writing for a year. Besides getting up to take the boys to school or football, I sat on my couch for a year and just cried. And then I'm anti-medication, so I didn't want to go to get meds. But then I said, I have to be, for me, my driving force for everything I do are my children. And I was like, if I'm not good to myself, I'm not good to them. So I went and got meds. I went on meds for a little while. And then as I started to feel better, I went off them. But the mental was the hardest. Like I said, the physical, it goes away. But the depression, it was bad. I did contemplate suicide in 2018. And I was on the verge of losing my house in Bermuda. So I pay mortgage in Bermuda and rent in the UK. And it was just all too much. And not having the child support that I was supposed to have, it just all came to a head. And I was like, for the first time ever, I felt worthless. And so I just felt that everything I had endured from first child to third child. So I had my first child in 2001. We're now in 2018. I felt like it all just came on my shoulders. And I thought the easy option was just to die. But it's one thing that stopped me, Oscar. There's two things, but revolving around one. My children. I was like, I would never cause my children that pain. Never. And then two, I was like, if you die, then why would you leave your children in the very hands of the people that never cared for them? And so that went away, and here I am today in 2021.
Wow. Because I really like what you said, and that is, we all contemplate suicide in our lives at a point in time, but it's about the degree of the contemplation, isn't it? Some people, it comes as a flash. Some people, it comes from time to time. Some people, it comes to stay, giving them that voice that you have to kill yourself. And I would say you were blessed for you to have a solution. And the solution was your children. So your children were the driving force. But a lot of people don't have any solution to hang on to. So they go ahead and they do it, isn't it?
Every time, I know that from a Christian perspective, if someone commits suicide, I remember, I don't know, well, in Bermuda, they used to say, if you commit suicide, you should be buried on your stomach and all of this craziness, right? But you have to be really heavy. When I think about when people kill themselves, I'm just like, wow, you got to really be heavy. For me, I look forward to, like, in 3 years, I'll be 50. I want to meet my grandchildren. One day I may get married. I want to see my daughter and graduate from university. She's starting in September. So for me, I wasn't about to let all of that go. I was like, okay, you're going to have to fight through this, because to me, there were no other alternatives. Now, if I didn't have my children, would the outcome have been different? But I also think, and I say this with love towards my children, if I didn't have my children, I wouldn't have been in that position either. And I don't say that in a negative way. So it's like I just had to do what I had to do. And I have a very small, close knit of female sisters who in that time, they rallied behind me and they showed me that I was worth living. And I was like, you know what? If they can see it in me, then I have to see it in myself. And I've never looked back from that.
Wow. You need to have that close circle that believes in you. And I think that is very, very important. Now, you mentioned about university. I will come to the healing process very soon, right? But I want to touch on it because I don't want to come back to it. Now, in the midst of all these, 3 children, working, mother, you still went ahead to university? Somebody will say, Carla, are you crazy? Can you handle this?
That was me. That was me talking to myself. In 20, like I remember I put my pen down, right? So I was like, all right, I need to do a career shift. I had been a journalist at that point for I've been a journalist for 23 years. So then I had been a journalist for 20 years. And I was like, I need a change. And what am I passionate about? Women. And so I thought about women who are like me and but may not have the voice I have or the strength I have. So I was going to go to law school. So I applied to law school, got in. And then when it came time to go, I was like, I don't want to go. And I told them I'll defer for a year. And then they called, 9 months later and said, are you ready to come? And I was like, no, I don't think I'm going to do it. So I applied instead to do a master's in digital communications and public relations. And I jumped in and pretty much most of the students were younger than my first degree, but I just did it. And then the pandemic happened. But for me, it was about my children seeing that no matter what happens, nothing is impossible. And so I was frustrated. There were some classes I barely passed. I wrote a 5,000 word paper in one night and vowed never to that again. And I passed it. But I was just like, and I had a bout of depression in the midst of it. And I couldn't complete one class, but I aced all the rest. And they ended up forgiving me for it. And I didn't even have to make it up. They passed me, right? But for me, I just wanted my children to see that no matter what happens, you can keep going. And I wanted to drop out because I was like, why am I doing this? I don't need this, but I needed it for me. I wanted to see if I still had it at 46. And I have it because I finished and we still haven't graduated because of the pandemic, but my second degree is upstairs. So I did it.
Wow. And I want you to look into the camera, right? And speak to any mother or anybody that is watching it, whether a man or a woman, that thinks that it cannot be done, whether it's education or whatever vision they have, they think it cannot be done. Because I believe that if you can do it, anybody at all can do it. Because I've seen people saying, oh, at this my age, I cannot go to school anymore. At this my age, it's too late to go to school. At this my age, it's too late to do this, to do that. Talk to them for me.
You can do it. Honestly. I love to say I'm 47, right? First, because nobody believes me. But I just also think that we shouldn't put barriers on ourselves. We shouldn't put limits. I've had nothing. I've been down to like 63p and not knowing how I'm going to buy groceries tomorrow. So I'm not saying it from a place of privilege. I'm saying even if you have nothing, there is a way, but you have to believe. And even at times when I feel I'm about to panic because I don't know how I'm going to do whatever it is, I stop, I take a breath, I pray, I meditate, and I'm like, I can do it. And it gets done. You have to believe in yourself, though. That's the important part. I try not to speak negative. And when I find myself having a negative thought, I counteract it with a positive one. So,
and that is what my book is all about, right? Mindset revolution, re-engineering your mind from prison to purpose. I don't even want to go about it, but based on what you say, it depends on what we feed our mind with, right? If we feed our mind with the negatives of life, when any opportunity comes, we are more likely to say no. But if you feed our mind with the positives of life, we build an empire of positivity that creates a synergy for us to really fight any battle that we need to fight to succeed in this world. I always say this, and I always repeat this. You are already successful or failed, not because of what you don't have, but just because of the mindset you carry. Wherever you find yourself in life, it's just because of the mindset that you carry. It's not just because of the things you don't have. A lot of people are looking for physical things and thinking that that is going to make them successful. No. What is going to make you successful is a strong foundation of a positive mindset. That is why somebody wins the lottery, 50 million pounds, 5 years along the line, they file for bankruptcy. Why? Because their mind was not built for purpose. And these are some of the things we need to work on. I think Carla will not be at this stage of her life if she hasn't really built that purposeful mind.
And it wasn't easy. It wasn't easy. Like, I have to be realistic. It was not easy. It was not right away. But I had a moment in I've as clear as day I can remember, in 2018, I was at my worst. And I said, listen, I was like, what is faith? What is believing? What is changing your mindset? Because again, I'm a tangible person. I don't do gray area, right? And I said, if you change how you think about things, what do you have to lose? Because the other way doesn't work.
Yeah.
So let's see what happens. And when I tell you things started to change and continue to evolve, everything started to open up. But I think you have to also be honest with self as well. You know, and when you feel like, okay, I can't do it, honestly, turn that negative, because I wouldn't be where I am if I wasn't abused, if I wasn't broken, if I wasn't hurt. I wouldn't be where I am today. So those things that seem negative, they really aren't, you know, they're stepping stones to get us where we need to be.
Wow. That's quite interesting. Now, look, we are going to the last segment of this show. If you are watching us, we want you to like our page, T2I TV UK, and also subscribe to our YouTube channel, T2I TV UK. We want this to be a hub of we from African descent and those in the diaspora. We don't need to wait for CNN to call Carla to share her story. We have to create a platform where we share our own stories. That platform, a lot of our people will yearn to be on, like the way they want to yearn to be on CNN. And how can we do it? Oscar cannot do it alone. Carla cannot do it alone. We need to work together. And you're talking of support. It's just to click it, bam. Just like our page, subscribe to our YouTube channel. And if you are enjoying the discussion, these are the kind of discussions we bring to you every single week. You can't afford to miss it, because there is so much entertainment around. There is so much comedy around. There is so much politics around. But nobody is really sharing inspiring stories that are designed to really cause us to really get to where we are in life. This is one of the few platforms that is sharing positivity. We are now living in a negative world. So if you are not careful, you are going to go with the tide. And before you realize, you are going to find yourself at a certain level where you cannot rise above a certain potential just because of the things that you listen to. And we are here to create positive synergy. And this story is a typical story. Look, I am really inspired. I have never seen, I don't know whether Carla knows that she's a very strong woman. I don't know whether she knows it. But if nobody has told you, I'm telling you today that you are very strong. In spite of all the downfalls and the challenges you've gone through, a lot of people pass through this and they never rise up. And it affects their children and even their children's children. And this is where I want to ask you about the healing process. When did you start saying that enough is enough? I am now turning the whole thing around to really get to where I am born to be, to build that great future that is going to be that iconic future that when you are no more, people will say, this woman called Carla Zuill, she is the one that changed a lot of women's life. When did it start?
So I remember it as clear as day, March 22nd, 2015. I had been bitterly angry for about 2 years. And one day, I don't know what happened. I woke up and it was in the morning. Like literally, I woke up from sleep and I said, hold on, Carla, you did something that some people didn't get the opportunity today. You woke up. And I was like, why are you wasting your time being angry and bitter when you could be using your time positively, right? And bettering yourself. So out of that, that's when the Women's Empowerment Summit was born in 2016. And initially the summit was born as a way to create a safe space for women, right? And I was like, okay, so I got some speakers and I was one of the speakers and we shared our experiences. And I did it just before I was moving out here, Oscar. And it was a way to make money as well as combining two things I like. Phenomenal event, didn't make a penny. So okay, left, came out here to the UK. And then someone sent me a message and said, when's the next one? I'm like, oh, that was a one-off. I live in the UK. They was like, no, you can't leave us hanging. Now I'm in year number 6.
Wow.
And each year that I have the summit, because we have different presenters and speakers, I realize that I'm still on my journey to healing, but that I'm also helping to facilitate a space for women to heal. So I draw strength from others. I'm very non-judgmental. And I think that I said this to you earlier, I'm non-judgmental towards others, but I'm very judgmental towards self. Fast forward to 2018, when I was about to lose my home, and I went home to do the summit, and I didn't want to go, right? But there are all these women waiting for me, and I was like, I don't think I'm gonna do it. And I went home, and my core friends who I was just telling you about, and they're watching now, so I may cry. They took me to dinner, and I didn't want to go. And they said, come on, let's go to dinner. And at the end of the dinner, they handed me 2 or 3 cards. And I thought they were Christmas cards. And I was like, okay, I don't feel like crying tonight. I'm already, masking this feeling down. And when I opened the card, Oscar, money was just coming out of the card.
Wow.
And they were helping me towards these girls to save my house and all of that. And they had gone out and garnered support from others. And they were they were the catalyst to this renewed healing, because they were the ones I was talking about earlier when I said, when they saw in me more than what I saw in myself. And so from there, I just said, okay, keep building. So therapy, even I go to therapy to this day, every other week, because I'm not perfect. In order to, I have trauma. I have trauma that I've just realized was trauma from childhood. And so thankfully, I've never been sexually abused or any of that, but I had a lot of emotional trauma as a child. And so I still battle with that on a daily. But the positive affirmations, the work inspiring others, the listening to others. I'm like, excuse me, I can't be subpar when I have so many women looking up to me. So many women who I learn from. And again, once between the therapy, I have a closed group with almost 1,000 women. We meet bi-weekly in there, and we talk and we do a live video. All of that, I get from it as much as I put into it.
Wow.
And we as women need to realize we are not alone. Because a lot of times, you talked about it earlier, how we stay quiet. We suffer in silence. Men don't do that,
No.
It's us women, because we have to be moms. We have to be partners. We have to be professionals in whatever we do. When do we get to be ourselves?
Wow. Now, from what you have told me, yeah, so does it mean that the people that you surround yourself with are very critical to your success or your great future?
They are very critical to my emotional well-being. Yes. Because if I'm well emotionally, then everything else is okay,
Mm,
right? So I'm at the stage of my life. I can disconnect from people without any regret, but I'm very discerning. So I only have people in my space
mm,
who I think contribute towards elevation
mm,
and mutually, us, me to them and them to me. If someone is negative, I have no problem with, if I feel that they're not worth being in my
mm,
life, letting them go. But it doesn't have to be
mm,
negative. It doesn't have to be adversarial.
mm,
It's just, you got to go.
mm, mm. Wow, 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 wow. Now, you have got a very good relationship with your children. And I think that is one of the key things that is very important, especially when it comes to children. Uh, some of us, it's not that our parents didn't love us or they didn't like us, but they never hugged us before, you know. But that didn't mean that they didn't like us. The approach of, I don't know much about the Caribbean, but the approach of an African parent to their child is different from probably a white person, right? They hug the kids, but we don't, right? Yeah. But with you, you have been able to build a very good relationship with your children. Now, what kind of relationship should parents build with their children?
I can't say should because to each his own, right? But for me, I grew up in a house where children didn't have a voice, didn't have an opinion, right? And I didn't want my children to be like that.
Mm,
I grew up in a house and being transparent, I mean, I don't have a very good relationship with my mother to this day. I didn't want that for my children. In fact, my children sometimes say I drive them crazy because they think I'm a bit overbearing. Like I still try to hold my daughter's hand when she's crossing the street. She's like, "Lady, leave me alone."
mm,
But I think for me, I never want my children to ever question whether or not I love them.
mm,
And so even learning how to deal with them differently. My older son sometimes says, "Mommy, I need you to listen."
mm,
And so, as much as it will frustrate me at times, I have to listen because I want a positive relationship. So, I just, I just always wanted to create a place where my children don't have to go out and reach out to someone outside of our family to lend an ear to because they felt they couldn't come to me. It's different. I mean, we all talk to our friends and certain things we say to our friends. That's different than feeling that they can't come to me. And I never want my children to feel that way. So I just think parents need to give kids a voice,
mm,
but the kids need to understand they can have a voice, but it doesn't mean that you dictate to me.
mm,
But I think it's so important to hear how our children are feeling, what they're thinking, and be open if their thinking is different than what we're used to.
mm,
I say it because I just think that's so old
mm,
fashioned.
mm. Because I think the reason why this is very important is that you look at 3 days ago, we have 3 days street sunshine, and young people were stabbing each other. There is one video I watched and my heart bleed. It's like they chased this young man with a machete,
I've heard about
fell
it.
on the ground, and they just stab him like men. And I think all these things about building good relationship with them. I was having a conversation with my next door neighbor's son and my son. We were in a car going to the barbers yesterday, and I said, these are some of the reasons sometimes, even at your age, if you are going to the barbers, we want to go with you. They are saying nothing will happen to them because they are not in gangs, I say, yeah, we understand you are not in gangs, but at least we want you to get to that stage where we know you are a grown-up person, you can really make certain decisions for yourself. But for now, let me be your police, as much as I can. And I think it's a good thing. Nobody is assured, but we just have to do our best, right? But I've got so much comment here. Carla, a lot of people are falling in love with you, trust me. And I've got one from Jamaica Lambert. She says, be very open where you can, be transparent, and they will be comfortable to come and talk to you about everything. I think that is very key, isn't it? Because the children, especially in this UK we live, they are very secretive, isn't it?
My children, I won't say what, but sometimes my children are so open with me. My two oldest ones, I'm like, I don't know if this is inappropriate or really a compliment of how well we get along, because they share things with me, right? But I love it because I couldn't do that with my parents growing up. So it is scary when you talk about this. My son's 15 and I wish he was still 10, because if he steps out the door, I'm terrified. But he says, Mommy, you know, I'm not into all of that. But it doesn't have to be that you are. It could be someone else. So that is very scary. But I just stay prayed up. You know, I pray every day.
We are not part of that statistics anyway. Yes. And she also says, find the good in every situation. Evelyn Ortin Pabi says, thank you for sharing your story, Carla. And I've got Jamaica coming back to say, positive thinking, positive outcome. And I've got Danny Payne saying, Carla, hold on. Danny Payne says, Carla is a powerful force. God has her back. And Jamaica coming back to say, development is key. And I've got Onyinka Osisanya saying, you are beautiful and strong. Thank you for being bold enough to share your story despite your vulnerability. And I've got Lendre Stay says, I agree, Carla. I can't stand those terms. I prefer one-parent household. I agree with you, Lendra, on that. And I've got Rotimi Jaisimi. That is Professor Rotimi Jaisimi. He's been on this show several times. He said, black and beautiful you are. Thanks for standing up against abuse. Then I've got Evelyn Ortin Pabi saying, as some who knows Carla personally, her story is definitely one of inspiration. She is motivating force. And if you don't follow her, you definitely need to. She is always empowering women. Today I was at your page and I'm like, wow, you have really, your page is juicy. Yeah, it's
and I've turned it down, right? Because I've been focusing so much on the magazine and the website. But I mean, if I had a dream, I do have a dream, and my dream is to share my word. And you talked about the platforms earlier. I want to become international, which I am, but I really want to get into something about Ghana and Nigeria that are calling me. I want to spread my word in Africa. And so I'm honored to be here because it gives me the opportunity to reach out to people who I probably would never have been exposed to. So yeah, I'm just going to keep pushing the bar, and hopefully, one day someone will say, hey, can you fly over and come and share your story? That's my dream.
Don't worry. I'll organize a Ghanaian passport for you.
Does that come with a husband? No. No, my partner would be upset. I'm joking, Chris.
Oh my God. And I got Smart Food saying, I can't wait for the story. And Tia Fabet saying, yes, Carly. Carly, it's been wonderful having you on the show. I've enjoyed every bit of it. And you have got a very powerful story to share. Let me ask you this. Are you writing a book?
So many people have asked me to, and I kept delaying it because I felt the story was still being told. But I am actually in the process. I try to write weekly. I am writing a memoir. So
do you know what? Just give us part 1, right? In 5 years' time, you give us part 2. So we can't wait for this one, okay? So I think this story must be told in a book so that it will be accessible to the world, not only on platforms that you go, but somebody might not get the opportunity to watch shows like this, but they can get your book from somewhere and read about your story. So I think, look, I'm sealing the deal with you now. This book, you need to push it out and let it come out, because this story can change the lives of a lot of people. Now, where do I see Carla the next 5 years?
I hope to have a multimedia business. I also have a public relations consultancy, so I'm building that, and I do actually have clients, but I want to become a media mogul, and not just in Bermuda. The UK is my home, and I don't foresee the UK me leaving anytime soon. My partner's from Nigeria, and he wants us to split time between there. So I want to build a brand that is recognizable amongst our people. I'm unapologetic about that. I love white people. White people have been good to me, but I love my Black people. And so I would like to build amongst us, as melanated people.
Oh, yes, yes, yes. And I agree with you. And this platform is for Africans by Africans. This is what, because we have left our stories to be told by others for far too long. It is time for us to share our own stories. So I don't want the time when Carla probably is no more, then somebody is sharing Carla's story. No, Carla is sharing the story now. And how can she share the story? By creating platforms like this where we can have people to come and share their stories. Now, I've got a question from Evelyn Otin Pabi, and I think that is going to be our last question. She says, can we ask a question? As Africans, we are so concerned about what others think about us. Carla, how did you overcome that? Any tips you can give us?
Oh, I drove my mom crazy, right? Because my mom is very about what the public thinks. And and I think maybe that's why I'm so different. I think that you have to be comfortable, because with being open, Evelyn, comes judgment. So I have people who don't like me because they think I talk too much. But for me, the key is being honest with self. And I tell people all the time, when I first used to share, I shared from a space of bitterness. That doesn't work, okay? Because people can feel the venom, they hear the anger, they think it's vengeful. Once I changed my voice in the sense of I then spoke same story, same experiences from a place of healing, then the judgment dissipated and people actually listened. So I think that every person should share their experiences because they never knew who they're going to touch, but it's how you do it and how you say it or bring it across. So that's the biggest thing I would say is be honest and don't speak from a place of anger. Speak from a place of healing and hope.
Yeah, I think I've got Jamaica saying, if you worry about what people think, say, or feel, you will live an unhappy life, period. And I think Jamaica is right. And I think our community can be a bit judgmental. And and I like what you said. You said it's the approach of really where you are speaking from, right? You can easily speak from the side of anger, but you have turned that anger to a positive energy where the same scenario, you are now using it to inspire other people. And look, you are forced to reckon with, trust me. And sometimes when you are doing something, you need people to tell you that you are doing a great job, and that becomes a sort of motivation. Look, when I wrote this book, right, until people started giving me feedback, that is when I realized that maybe I wrote something of sense. Why? Because you will never know how people are going to react to it until it is out there. And God being so good, people are giving me good feedbacks. And it's so amazing. Somebody called me and he said, look, your book costs £8.99 at Amazon. And what you have written deserves more than that. Send me an account. And that person just put in £100 in it. That your book deserves more. And these are the things. I want to encourage you that you are in the right place. Look back for reference, but focus ahead, right? Because I think you can touch more lives with your story. It's an amazing story. And you need to continue to believe in yourself as you have always been. And continue to leave a legacy. I always tell people that when you are no more today, what will people use to remember you?
And that's what drives me, Oscar, my legacy. That's what the building of my legacy. And that's why even I say, like, my children always do, and I say, carry your name with pride because you're walking around with mommy, So definitely. Oh, and the name of your book again, because someone just sent a message to me asking, can you say the name of it?
It's Mindset Revolution, re-engineering your mind from prison to purpose. And if you search Amazon, Mindset Revolution Oscar Bimpon, it will pop up. Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And I always say that it's £8.99. It's cheaper than a large pizza. It's cheaper than a bucket of KFC. so for once, 1 week, just invest in your mind for £8.99.
I want you to mail me one. I'm gonna send it so you could mail me a signed copy.
I've got some copies here. I can send a signed copy to your house. And trust me, it's been amazing. I'm blessed. And look, I have got a similar story to share in terms of my journey, in terms of what I'm doing. I've been doing this for over 10 years now. And when I started, those that were laughing at me now, they now tell people that I'm a very good friend. It's because we need to push. We don't need to let what others told us limit us. If you know where you are going, you don't throw a stone to every dog that barks at you. That is why you don't drive looking backwards, but you drive looking forward. Our eyes were being put in front of us for a reason, just because we have to focus ahead. And we need to create that mindset that whatever we put our hand to is a seed. But within that seed can be the biggest tree you can ever imagine. We just need to work hard at it. Develop what we have in our hands. I always tell people, stop waiting for others and start with what you have. Because the power of multiplication is in the seed, not in the tree. So you need that small seed to get that tree. Without that seed, there's no tree. So that small thing you have in your hands, that resources, they can multiply for you to see that big vision that you want to. It's a matter of time. Time is our best judge. But our consistency and our passion to bring change to this, our negative world, is going to get to where it's supposed to be if we believe in ourselves like the way Carla has and the way she's changing the world in her small corner. She is sitting in a small corner, but she's changing the world. And this is where we want each and everyone that is on this platform to be. Build that vision. Be that person that somebody will look up to and say, one day I was walking on the streets of Accra in Ghana. Somebody held my hands. And he said, are you Oscar Bimpo? I say, yes. And I've got a hashtag. My hashtag is possible if only you believe. And that person is it's possible if only you believe. And that guy showed me that he was working at the bank. He has fired his boss just because he follows me on Facebook. And this is the business he has built. This is the stories we are talking about. This one story just encourages you that you can't give up. One person sent me a message sometime. He said, Oscar, if you want to give up on what you are doing, just look at me and don't stop. And these are the encouraging things. You see, you don't know who you will touch. You don't know who you will touch. And that is why we encourage that a lot of people are standing on the side of the negatives of life. It's a choice. We can also choose to be on the positive. Now, Carla transitioned to be on the positive side, changing the narrative. Where are you standing, Carla?
Well,
and I want you to use this to be your last word to everyone that is watching it.
No, I love what you've said because I have the magazine, right? She Hub magazine, which I'm trying to find a distributor in the UK and can't find one. And I've been literally mailing them to people. And I thought for a minute, I said, I'm not doing anymore because this is so much work and it's frustrating. But I'm like, nope, I can't give up. I got to keep pushing. But what I would say, one, is don't say why me. Look for the lesson in everything that's happening, even when you think that it's not there. It's there. Don't be afraid. And if anyone wants to reach out to me, my hashtag, my handle for everything is at Carla Zuill. I would love to speak to women, but encourage each other. I'm so happy I'm past the phase of being catty towards other women because I think every woman goes through that stage. Now, I surround myself with nothing but powerful women. Look around you, specifically, ladies, for other women that are like you or you feel can encourage you, and sky is the limit.
The sky is the limit. I always say that you can also explore beyond the skies, right? So we can go to the moon. So the sky is the limit, but we can go beyond the sky, right? Now, if people want to follow you on social media, where can they find you?
I am on Facebook as Carla Zuill, in Twitter and as Carla Zuill. If you just look Carla Zuill, you'll find me. It's only one of me in the whole 65 billion of us in the world. At SheHub TV is my handles for Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook as well. And I would appreciate your support. If there is the Women's Empowerment Summit, Bermuda and beyond. If you would like to join, it's for women only. Please feel free to send a request. It's a very sacred space. We have almost 1,000 women in there, and we have so much powerful things going on. So I want to say thank you to you, Oscar. This has been such an amazing experience, and thank you for having me on your show.
Thank you for also having me, and I really appreciate your time. And
are we friends now? Am I going to be your friend?
We are more than we are. You are a sister. You have transitioned from a friend to a sister. I told you I'm going to give you a Ghanaian passport. So what are you talking about? Eh? Yes. I think I've got two more comments from Jamaica. He said, thank you, sir. The encouraging word. May God continue to bless you, your platform. Well done, Carla. May God continue to bless your dream and keep reaching for the stars. But before I go, get a copy of this book, right? Now, when you get a copy of the book, Mindset Revolution, just type it on Amazon or Skabimpong, it will come up. Now, when you get a copy of the book, don't read it yourself, right? My son has finished reading it and he's reading it again. He told me, see, Daddy, when you start reading, you want to go to the next page, you want to go to the next page. He took about 5 days, 1 week to read the book. And he's 15 years, right? We need to work on their minds as young as possible. I was speaking somewhere and I told them that the greatest inheritance we can give our children is not houses and physical assets. The greatest inheritance is to give them a mindset that is unwavering when the storm rages. Because when we give them physical resources and they don't have the right mindset, they will lose it in few years. And when we develop a powerful mindset, then they know that it doesn't matter what they are going through. They are born for greatness. And that is what this book is all about. Look, spend some money. Buy some for somebody. Buy some for your pastor, your friends, your family members that you think they don't have the right mindset. Buy it for them. And look, let's build, because the continent of Africa, we have really done things in a particular way for far too long, and that is why we are not growing. People say our problem is leadership, but I say our problem is a mindset issue because every leadership stems from a particular mindset. And if we have done things in a particular way for far too long and we are not getting the right results, it's not about changing leadership, it's about changing mindset. I want to take this book to primary school where we develop the mindset of the children for the next 20, 30 years so that they can think different from the forebearers. Otherwise, we will continue to have the same results. And trust me, you are where you are in life, not because of anything else, but because of the mindset you carry. Until you change your mindset, nothing on the outside will change. And I want to encourage everybody, get a copy of this book and you'll be blessed. Carla, it's been wonderful having you, and God richly bless you for your time.
Thank you.
And also, for those that really spend your valuable Saturday night with us, I say God richly bless you. We are here every Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday, 8 p.m. British summertime now, right? And that is 7 p.m. GMT. It's been wonderful. God bless all of you. I will see you soon. But don't forget to like our page and subscribe to our YouTube channel, T2I TV UK, so that you don't miss such powerful discussions like this. Thank you, Carla, once again, and God bless you.